Hi everyone, let's start today's video, and today we will cover about the process models, about sub-process and how to use sub-process inside a process model and the best practices of process models. So I've created one process model TS subtask and I opened this. Right now it is empty. Let's remove this activity chaining first. So this is the start node, this is the end node. So let's explore some options and some smart services before getting into the process model. So this is the properties option. This is the general tab. This is the process model ID, process model UUID. So what UUID is a unique set of combination for every process model. This is the process model name. This is the description and this is the process display name. So why there are two names? Actually, this one we can use is as a dynamic and this will come inside the monitoring tab. Like when we monitoring our process instances, then this display name will come at that time. We can search it and we can find it and we can debug it. This is the process model name. This is static and the process model name is this directly. So this is the priority. We can also set the priority of this process model. This is the option where we can set an attachment folders, email or time zone. Let's go inside the variable. So variable, right now there is no variable in this sub process model. Let's create one. Name is check and type we can select any of the type. I'm selecting number. Value, I can give value in right now also, or during the process model we can modify this value. Okay, I'm giving this value as 2. So these are the option which is very useful. Like if we want to use this as a sub process, this process model, then we need to check this very parameter. Like when we start this sub process and we want to pass some value inside this variable, then we use this as a parameter. We can also make this required if needed. We can also make this multiple and we can hide this from the parent sub process if needed. So but if we choose this as a parameter, then we cannot hide this, then that's why this is coming as read only, and if I remove this, then we can hide this. Now we can use this as a parent parameter and we have created this process variable. So process variable can access using pvBank, process variable bank. We can access this process variable by using this. And the third tab is process start form. So if you want this process model to start with a form, right, when we like hit any action, when we hit any related action, when we hit something on the interface and we want this process model to get triggered, then we use this process start form and we can add any of the form here. So let me add some random form. Yes, add vehicle. So this is asking like, do you want to automatically create process parameters to match the, yes. So what it will do, it will automatically create this process variables like vehicle and cancel, and let me click on the OK, and if I go to the variables, then it is automatically created. Okay, so Appian is doing everything automatically for us, and in the process start form these are already mapped and created also. So deadline tab, let's go to the deadline tab. Deadlines are just like specify the target and day for completion process, like the process, this process, if this process needs to be completed in a certain deadline, then we can use this option. We can deadline this process like for a few minutes or few hours or a few days also. Alerts like currently we have just chosen this one using system defaulter. So if the process model in future or while running this process model, some error occurred inside this process model, then the alert should be there, because if we don't use alert option, then the user will not get notified, the developer will not get notified, and to debug this process model, we can miss this, like we can miss the alerts. So we will choose the system alerts, or what we can do, we can directly use the custom alerts and check mark whatever is required and add the groups at the user also. Data management. Data management is like archiving this process, like after it got complete, after some few days, what will happen with this. So generally we use system by default, and it will auto archive processes 7 days after completion or cancellation. Okay, and we can also choose like to delete this process, to archive, not do not delete this process. Okay, so this is all about process model properties. Let's click OK. So we have added a process start form. That's why this check is coming, and it's like a form now. It's not a simple start node, it is a combination of form. So there is one more useful option like this one, process instances. So if this process model, we publish it and we use this, and we want the instance to check, so we can use this option. Currently there is no instance, so that's why it is coming blank, all unfinished or all processed, it is coming blank. So let's add some user input, not user input, some other activity. Let's use the gateways. So in Appian, like in the Appian process model, we have all the different type of gateways, and complex, or, and XOR. As the name suggests, it works like that only. Like the XOR will only execute a single path. When it finds the true condition, then it will follow up the single path. We can add the decision like new condition. If I'll use my process variable PV bank check, if the check is equal to 2, then it can follow up the, right now there is no path, so let me create one path, and we can use email smart service. Send email. So if this is 2, then we can send this email, we can attach this and to the end note. So now we can choose the condition here. If this is true, then go to the send email. If this is not true, then go to the end node. So this is XOR gate. We can rename this like check condition. Okay, and similarly end node and smart service, complex, and OR. So and will execute like it can lead us to one or more path, because it is a kind like when we need to do something in parallel, like we need to, for example, we need to send 4 emails parallelly, or we need to send 4 user input tasks parallelly, or 4 tasks parallelly. So what we can do, we can select this, and we can add this to the email path as well as the check path. Then what it will do, it will start the start node and it will go to this end and follow both the paths. So it's not like XOR, it's working on an AND perspective, like one or more paths can enter this AND gateway and one or more exit paths can also be there. So similarly or can also, like we can add conditions in this one. And this one complex is little different. We can have like multiple paths and multiple complex gateways. Like currently there is 0 incoming path, that's why it is coming like 0. So we can select like if this path will be completed or this path the condition will be fulfilled, then it will follow the particular path. So we can choose likewise. Let's delete both of these and this one also. Let's configure this email. So we have from to, we can add any of the, let me add my name. We can select the user also. We can add subject. We can add priority, and we can add the body. So we have two options basically for this send email configuration body. We can use directly text or as a HTML template. Then we need to select the template, the document which we have there in the Appian data designer folders. So we can select those, and we can also do the rule input, and we can also input some data inside that HTML template. Like we can use this expression inside this HTML body, and we can directly click on enter. So this email node is configured right now, and this is also we have configured, and this is start node is also configured. So let's publish this. So what we will do now, we will use this process model as a sub process in different process. So what we can do, we can directly open some another process model. Let's open this new tutorial record. So this process model is already created. What we will do now, we will use sub process. We have two options basically, sub process and start process. So these are the two ways where we can start a different process. So but why the Appian is providing us the two things? Like there is some difference in both of them. Let me go through the sub process first. So basically in sub process we have synchronous and asynchronous option in the setup. Synchronous means like node will not complete until the sub process complete. Like first the sub process needs to be completed. Like if the sub process got stuck in the middle, then this node will not get completed. And asynchronous, as the name suggests, like it will just start that sub process and follow up with the current process. It does not depend whether the sub process is getting completed or not. So we can select either of the options. So let me select our process model. What was the name? AS TA subtask. If I select this TA sub, let me go through this option. TA models and TA subtask. Okay, so after selecting this sub process, so we have one option also. First, enable activity chaining into all the initial nodes in sub process. We can add directly activity chaining inside the sub process initial nodes. So what basically the activity chaining is? So activity chaining, like when we use activity chaining with some forms, when you some user forms, then that is very useful. Like our basically our Appian instances or Appian nodes are run on a different engine or run on a different instances. So what we need to do, when we need to just make sure like a proper instance will use only a single engine of the system, and it will run in a synchronous way, like it will not break in between. Then we use mostly in case of like when we need to click on some action and we want that user input task to become on the screen. So that's the main or major scenarios where we use activity chainings. So what we will do, from the start node till the user input task, we will add the activity chaining. Okay, So that's where we use activity chaining, and we have reporting and security options. And so this is our input variables, right? Because we have chosen these input variable as a parameter, that's why these are coming. So what we can do, we can pass the data inside this. So we have cancel, vehicle, and check number. We can pass the data inside this. We can also use expression, and we can also check mark this pass as a reference. So when we use a sub process, we have our parent and child relationship. Like we are sending the data, we are receiving the data, we are passing as a reference. So these are the features of sub process. We can choose whether it can be synchronous and asynchronous, right? And we can also only select one process model at the time. Like this is a limitation of sub process. We can only select this single process model, or we cannot add conditions here like to choose this process model at that time, because we have only selected one process model and we have passed the input variables. Okay, and we have also the output variables. Like if we wanted to some data, like after completing this process we want some data to get to fetch from that child process into the parent, then we can fetch that data. We can fetch any of the these are the process variables, and that we can fetch that process variables. And but we use when we use asynchronous, then we do not have the option of output, because in asynchronous, as you know, that the process will move forward. Then how we can get the output? So it's likewise, the parent child relationship is there, and synchronous asynchronous thing is there in the sub process. Similarly, start process does have a different kind of configuration, because when we go to the data input and process model, we can, like, inside this value we can write full full conditional statement here, like if check or if PV bank cancel is true, then we want to run this. The cancel is true, we can run some process model, or if it is not true, in the else statement we can run some another process model. It's like we can add full code here inside this, and we can pass the process model, and we can also pass the process parameters. So basically it is a like optimized way of using the sub process. Like it is faster than the sub processes. Start process is faster than sub processes. So where we need to do some highly coded run configuration of any process model, or we are using some heavy process model, or you can say that the process model which will take some time. So it's a kind of asynchronous running of the process model, right? Because there is no synchronous way. So we can also pass the parameters here inside the value. Just make sure to pass the dictionary in this one, because it will only take dictionary, and also with the appropriate parameters. After completing both of this, and we can also add some another input, right? We can also add some other process model. We can add n number of process model inside this. So that's why it is fast, optimized, and we can use it like for the different process models. We can give the name, we can select the type process model, and we can give the value of that process model, so it will get started. So let's learn about few options provided by these nodes. The data, we are using the data input. Output also, like if you want some output from this one, like some TP bank process IDs or TP owner, task process owner, we can store that in some target in our process model. And form, you already know, we have already talked about this. This is coming right now, it is not coming because the assignment is not there. If I do the assignment, then the form will come. But there is no use of using this as inside this subprocess. Let's remove this. And scheduling, we can schedule this, like we can schedule this node repetitive, monthly, weekly, yearly. And escalations and exceptions. So the basic difference of escalation and exceptions are like escalation, we can add levels 1, 2, 3, 4. Like if the task is not completed by any of the time, then the escalation goes, the alert goes, or email, send alert, send message. So these kind of setups we can do inside this. Exceptions are basically like it's an exception path. Like if I add a timer inside this, like skip this node after 2 minutes, I have added timer. We can also edit like add receive message and rule, and after clicking OK, then this timer is coming and it can follow up the different path. Like I have added this one. So this is the exception path, and it is also red line is also coming. Let's add this in this one. And for exception path, it will follow this one. Like if the sub process is not getting completed after some amount of time, it will follow up this exception path. So by this we can design our process model in an optimized way, and as well as the proper process flows we can design. So this is all about the sub process and start process. Hope you get an idea about this one. Let me remove this and let me delete these extra parameters. Okay, so this is the way in which we can, so this is the option, like GPS option is coming for escalations, and this clock option is coming for exceptions, and the question mark is coming in this because it is not assigned. So we can now we can remove it. Okay, so this is all about the sub process and the sub process in this start process. We can also add timer directly to it in between the process. Like I can add some timer here, like it will take a pause of 5 minutes at this timer, and after 5 minutes it will follow up the end node. So we can add this timer directly also. We have smart services like send message, receive message. In this send message and receive message, what we need to do, we need to use PPIDs. So PPIDs are the unique IDs of any process instances. Like if you wanted to cancel any process, or if we wanted to fetch the data of any process, we can use the PPID and we can fetch the data of that process instances. And if you want to send something or send something, some data or some PPID, or we wanted to start, like it is showing the designation PPID, right? So we need to pass the PPID here of the process instances of the process which we need to start. And after we send, like after we configure this and we will initiate this or debug it, it will directly send the message to that process instances. So these two are mostly linked, and this is our end node. We can also terminate this node, like result will be termination process. Previously there was no termination, so this black dot was not coming. So we have completed all the events, the most used events like script task, script process, user inputs, gateways, the send and receive messages, email. There are various smart services which we can explore later on. Thank you guys for today, and we will cover the application builder or quick apps in the next videos. Bye bye. See you guys.